हेलो फ्रेंड्स, नमस्कार। आप सभी कैसे हैं और आपकी जो तैयारी है वो कैसी चल रही है। मैं आशा करता हूँ कि आप ठीक होंगे और आपकी जो प्रिपरेशन है वो बहुत ही अच्छी चल रही होगी। और अभी तक नहीं कर रहे हैं तो अब स्टार्ट कर दीजिएगा, क्योंकि टीजीटी और पीजीटी की काफ़ी जगह आने वाली हैं। जैसा कि फ्रेंड्स आप जानते हैं, हम विलियम शेक्सपियर पढ़ रहे हैं और इनको एमसीक्यूज़ के माध्यम से पढ़ रहे हैं। ये एमसीक्यूज़ मोस्ट इम्पोर्टेंट हैं, इनमें से कोई भी क्वेश्चन आउट नहीं जाएगा। और अभी तक हम 150 एमसीक्यूज़ कर चुके हैं। यदि आपने वह नहीं देखे हैं तो पहले उन्हें देखो, उसके बाद इसी। ओके फ्रेंड्स, चलिए आज हम करते हैं 151 से और 200 प्लस एमसीक्यूज़ करेंगे। तो क्वेश्चन नंबर 151, हु रॉट दैट? किसने लिखा? शेक्सपियर इज अबव ऑल राइटर्स। शेक्सपियर सभी राइटरों से ऊंचे हैं या ऊपर है। एट लीस्ट अबव ऑल मॉडर्न राइटर्स, कम से कम जो मॉडर्न जो राइटर है उनसे ऊंचे हैं। द पोइट ऑफ नेचर, नेचर के पोइट। और ये वर्क किस वर्क में कहा गया? प्रीफेस टू शेक्सपियर। और ये प्रीफेस टू शेक्सपियर जो वर्क है वो है सैमुअल जॉनसन का। किसका? सैमुअल जॉनसन का। तो देखते हैं, थॉमस कार्लिल, सैमुअल जॉनसन, बेन जॉनसन, जॉन मिल्टन। इसका जो करेक्ट आंसर है वो है ऑप्शन बी, सैमुअल जॉनसन। थोड़ी सी इनके बारे में और जानकारी करते हैं। इन हिज प्रीफेस टू शेक्सपियर, जॉन मिल्टन प्रेजेस शेक्सपियर एज द पोएट ऑफ नेचर, हाईलाइटिंग हाउ हिज कैरेक्टर्स रिफ्लेक्ट यूनिवर्सल ह्यूमन बिहेवियर rather than the customs, particular time or place. Next question. Question number 152. According to preface to Shakespeare, what is the purpose of poetry as stated by Johnson? To entertain only, to instruct only, to instruct by pleasing, to imitate Greek classics. करेक्ट आंसर है ऑप्शन सी, टू इंस्ट्रक्ट बाई प्लीजिंग। क्वेश्चन नंबर 153, हु सेड द ओपिनियंस प्रीविलेंट इन वन केस एज ट्रुथ्स above the reach of controversy are confuted and rejected in another and rise again to reception in remoter times. वर्क प्रीफेस टू शेक्सपियर। जैसा कि हमें वर्क से पता चल गया ये किसने लिखा है? सैमुअल जॉनसन। करेक्ट आंसर क्या है? ऑप्शन बी, सैमुअल जॉनसन। Samuel Johnson notes that human opinions change over time, keeping the mind active without necessarily achieving permanent progress. Next. Who observed parts are not to be examined till the whole has been survived. There is a kind of intellectual remoteness necessary for the comprehension of any great work. Work refers to Shakespeare. Ben Jonson, Charles Lamb, Samuel Johnson, John Milton. Correct answer option B, सैमुअल जॉनसन। फ्रेंड्स, जब एग्जाम में ये क्वेश्चंस इनमें से जब आएगा तो उसमें ये वर्क शायद नहीं दिया जाएगा प्रीफेस टू शेक्सपियर। तो आपको जो ये कोट है इसी को पढ़कर पहचानना होगा। ओके। सैमुअल जॉनसन advises that understanding a work fully requires seeing it as a whole first, rather than focusing immediately on small details. Next. Question 155. Who wrote that Shakespeare has united the powers of exciting laughter and sorrow not only in one mind, but in one composition? Work preface to Shakespeare. Option: Thomas Carlyle, Samuel Johnson, Alexander Pope, Virginia Woolf. Correct option is option B, Samuel Johnson. Samuel Johnson emphasizes Shakespeare's unique ability to combine comedy and tragedy within the same work, a hallmark of his genius. Okay, friends, बाई फॉल्ट रह गई है और ये बाई फॉल्ट ही जो इसकी ऑप्शन है, जो सीक्वेंस है, वो गड़बड़ हुए हैं, ऊपर नीचे हुए हैं। ओके, तो ये कोई ज़्यादा मैटर नहीं करता है। जो हम आंसर बताएंगे वो है करेक्ट बताएंगे। ओके, नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन नंबर 156। अकॉर्डिंग टू जॉनसन, इन प्रीफेस टू शेक्सपियर, व्हाई डज शेक्सपियर्स कॉमेडी प्लीज? बाय वर्ड प्ले ओनली, बाय हिस्टोरिकल एक्यूरेसी, बाय थॉट्स एंड लैंग्वेज, बाय मोरल लेसन्स अलोन? करेक्ट ऑप्शन ऑप्शन बी। ऑप्शन बी इज करेक्ट, बाय थॉट्स एंड लैंग्वेज. Samuel Johnson notes that Shakespeare's comedy delights audience through clever ideas and expressive language, while his tragedy relies more on incident and action. Next, question number 157. Who stated Shakespeare's plays are not in the rigorous and critical sense either tragedies or comedies, but compositions of distinct kind were prefaced to Shakespeare? John Milton, Ben Jonson, Samuel Johnson, or Thomas Carlyle? Correct answer option B, सैमुअल जॉनसन. फ्रेंड्स, पेन जॉनसन अलग है और ये सैमुअल जॉनसन अलग है, इनकी स्पेलिंग में देखो डिफरेंट देखो. ओके, सैमुअल जॉनसन हाईलाइट्स दैट Shakespeare's works do not fit neatly into the categories of tragedy or comedy. Instead, they reflect the complexity of real life. सैमुअल जॉनसन को ही डॉक्टर जॉनसन कहती हैं. Samuel Johnson is Dr. Johnson. Okay, next. Question number 158. In preface to Shakespeare, who compared Shakespeare's drama to a mirror of life? Samuel Johnson, Charles Lamb, Virginia Woolf, Matthew Arnold. Correct answer is option A, Samuel Johnson. Question number 159. Who wrote that in the writings of other poets a character is too often in individual? In those of Shakespeare, it is commonly a species. Were prefaced to Shakespeare. Ben Jonson, John Milton, Samuel Johnson, Thomas Carlyle. Correct answer is option B, Samuel Johnson. Samuel Johnson praises Shakespeare for creating characters that embody universal human traits rather than representing only a single individual. Next, question number 160. According to Johnson, in preface to Shakespeare, Shakespeare regarded more the series of ideas than of words, and his language was all that he desired it to be, if it conveyed his meaning to the audience. Who wrote this line? Samuel Johnson, John Dryden, Thomas Carlyle, Virginia Woolf. Correct answer option A, Samuel Johnson. Samuel Johnson notes Shakespeare's focus on communicating ideas effectively to an audience rather than merely crafting literary elegance for print. Next, ये तो सभी फ्रेंड्स आपको लर्न करने हैं जो कोट्स हैं, और ये कोट्स किसने दिए हैं, ठीक है। बार बार इनको लर्न करना है, अपने नोट्स में लिखना है और लर्न करना है, ओके फ्रेंड्स। और इंग्लिश की बात को इंग्लिश में ही समझना है, जिससे वहाँ पर एग्ज़ाम में कोई आपका ज़्यादा प्रेशर ना हो और आप आंसर सही टिक कर सकें, ओके। Question number 161. Who famously said about Shakespeare, he was not of an ease but for all time. ये तो फेमस कोट है, आप जानते ही होंगे किसने दिया है। जॉन मिल्टन, सैमुअल पेपीज, बेन जॉनसन, जॉन ड्राइडन। करेक्ट आंसर इज ऑप्शन बी, बेन जॉनसन। विलियम शेक्सपियर के लिए यह कोट बेन जॉनसन ने दिया है। नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन नंबर 162. Who commented critically on Shakespeare by saying, would he had blotted 1,000 lines? Ben Jonson, Samuel Pepys, Thomas Rhymer, Alexander Pope. करेक्ट आंसर ऑप्शन डी, बेन जॉनसन। ये बेन जॉनसन, इसमें एच नहीं है, एच नहीं है, ओके। जॉनसन, JONSON, बेन जॉनसन, ओके फ्रेंड्स, ये वाले हैं। और सैमुअल जॉनसन अलग है, जिनको डॉक्टर जॉनसन भी कहते हैं। बेन जॉनसन्स रिमार्क वॉज पार्टली ह्यूमर and candid criticism, highlighting Shakespeare's tendency to write freely and sometimes excessively, despite Johnson's admiration. Next, question number 163. Who wrote the poem on Shakespeare in 1632, describing him as a डियर सन ऑफ मेमोरी, ग्रेट हेयर ऑफ फेम? ये भी मोस्ट इम्पोर्टेंट है और आप जानते होंगे ये किसने अपनी पोइम में दिया है। जॉन ड्राइडन, जॉन मिल्टन, सैमुअल पेपीज, थॉमस राइमर। करेक्ट आंसर इज ऑप्शन सी, जॉन मिल्टन। जॉन मिल्टन्स फर्स्ट पब्लिश्ड पोइम appearing in the second folio 1632 celebrated शेक्सपियर्स एंजरिंग लीगेसी एंड पोएटिक एक्सीडेंस। ये जो पोइम है ऑन शेक्सपियर, ये जॉन मिल्टन ने लिखी है विलियम शेक्सपियर के लिए, ओके। और ये उनकी फर्स्ट पब्लिश्ड पोइम है जो सेकंड फोलियो 1632 में पब्लिश हुई थी। नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन, क्वेश्चन नंबर 164. Who wrote in his diary in 1662 that A Midsummer Night's Dream was the most shipped ridiculous play that ever I saw in my life? John Dryden, Thomas Rhymer, Samuel Pepys, Samuel Johnson. Correct answer is option B, Samuel Pepys. Samuel Pepys, the diarist, expressed personal distaste for A Midsummer Night's Dream, despite acknowledging some pleasure in the dancing and appearance of actresses. Next question. Question number 165. Who wrote, all the images of nature were still present to him, and he drew them not laboriously but luckily? About Shakespeare. John Dryden, Joseph Addison, Samuel Johnson, Alexander Pope. Correct answer is option E, John Dryden. In his essay of dramatic poesy 1668, Dryden praised Shakespeare's natural genius and observational skill, emphasizing his innate understanding of human nature. Next, question number 166. Who was the 17th century critic known for attacking Shakespeare's Othello as failing the new classical rules of unity. John Dryden, Ben Jonson, Thomas Rhymer, Samuel Johnson. Option B is correct. Thomas Rhymer. Thomas Rhymer criticized Shakespeare for violating classical rules of time, place, and morality, though this criticism ironically spurred further admiration from others. Next, question number 167. Who described Shakespeare as child of nature in his early 18th century? Samuel Pope, Joseph Addison, Alexander Pope, Beeville, Higgins. Correct answer option E. Samuel Pope. Samuel Pope emphasized Shakespeare's natural genius in Poetica Britannici 1700, reflecting Johnson's idea of Shakespeare as inspired by nature rather than formal education. Option A is correct. Okay, next. Question number 168. Which 18th century writer in 1701 suggested Shakespeare's first sketches were rude but praised Granville's revisions as improving them? Beeville, Higgins, Joseph Addison, Alexander Pope, Samuel Johnson. Correct answer is option D. Beeville Higgins. Beeville Higgins, in the preface to Granville's revision of The Merchant of Venice, highlighted Shakespeare's raw genius and the polish added by later editors. Question number 169. Who wrote in 1712 that among the English, Shakespeare is incomparably excelled all others? Alexander Pope, Joseph Addison, Samuel Johnson, Thomas Rhymer. Correct answer option B. Joseph Addison. Joseph Addison's essay in Spectre number 419 praised Shakespeare's imaginative genius and ability to touch the reader's imagination. अगला क्वेश्चन देखते हैं. क्वेश्चन नंबर 170. Who wrote? His characters are so much nature herself that 'tis a sort of injury to call them by so distinct a name as copies of her. Options: Alexander Pope, Samuel Johnson, Joseph Addison, John Dryden. Option A is correct. Alexander Pope. Alexander Pope emphasized Shakespeare's individuality in character creation and the ensuing authenticity of his characters in the preface to his 1725 edition. Next. Question number 171. Who compared Shakespeare's plays to a forest containing gold and diamonds rather than a neatly cultivated garden? Samuel Johnson, Joseph Addison, Alexander Pope, Thomas Rhymer. Correct answer is option A. Samuel Johnson. Samuel Johnson highlighted Shakespeare's vast imaginative richness, contrasting it was the controlled elegance of other writers. In his 1765 preface to the plays of William Shakespeare. Question number 172. Who remarked that Shakespeare's adherence to gender nature has exposed him to the censor of critics? Voltaire, John Dryden, Samuel Johnson, Alexander Pope. Option B is correct. Samuel Johnson. Samuel Johnson defended Shakespeare against critics like Reimer and Voltaire, arguing that fidelity to nature justifies deviations from classical rules. Question number 173. Who wrote that there is no pleasure greater and purer than with eyes closed accompanying a Shakespeare's play, not declaimed but recited by a safe and natural voice? Goethe, Charles Lamb, Thomas de Quincey, W.H. Auden. ऑप्शन ए इज करेक्ट, गोथे। गोथे ने लिखा है विलियम शेक्सपियर के लिए। ठीक, गोथे एडमायर्ड द लिविंग इफेक्ट ऑफ शेक्सपियर्स प्लेस इन परफॉर्मेंस, emphasizing the natural rhythm and life of the language. अगला क्वेश्चन देखते हैं। क्वेश्चन नंबर 174. Who described Shakespeare as a creating characters from his own mind, the sphere of humanity? Charles Lamb, Thomas Carlyle, Thomas de Quincey, Alan Bloom. Option A is correct, Charles Lamb. Charles Lamb in 1811 praised Shakespeare's imaginative ability to reflect universal human nature rather than merely copying everyday life. Question number 175. Who likened Shakespeare's works to phenomena of nature like the sun, stars, frost and rain? Thomas Carlyle, Thomas de Quincey, Leo Tolstoy, Victor Hugo. Correct answer is option B, Thomas de Quincey. Thomas de Quincey compared Shakespeare's plays to natural phenomena, emphasizing their perfect design and inexhaustible complexity. Next. Question number 176. Who referred to Shakespeare as a king that no time or parliament can dethrone, highlighting his unifying influence on the English-speaking world? Thomas Carlyle, Victor Hugo, W.H. Auden, Samuel Johnson. Correct answer option A, Thomas Carlyle. Thomas Carlyle in On Heroes, Hero Worship, 1841, described Shakespeare as a symbolic sovereign over English culture and imagination. Next question. Question number 177. Who reportedly said, "I will look the ocean and I will translate Shakespeare"? Victor Hugo, D.H. Lawrence, Leo Tolstoy, Sigmund Freud. Sigmund Freud. Correct answer is option A, Victor Hugo. In 1859, Hugo illustrated his devotion to Shakespeare by equating reading and translating his works to observing the majesty of the ocean. फ्रेंड्स, इन्हें लिखकर याद करना है, बार बार याद करना है। जब आपको अच्छा याद हो जाएगा तभी आप एग्ज़ाम में सही से कर पाएंगे, नहीं तो आता हुआ भी गलत हो जाएगा। ओके फ्रेंड्स, नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन देखते हैं। क्वेश्चन नंबर 178. विच ऑथर एक्सप्रेस्ड repulsion and tedium after reading Shakespeare despite the latter's universal acclaim. Leo Tolstoy, D.H. Lawrence, Sigmund Freud, T.S. Eliot. Option A is correct. Option A is correct. Leo Tolstoy. Leo Tolstoy, 1906, felt Shakespeare's celebrated genius imposed as aesthetic and moral misjudgment, finding his works unlegible. Who wrote? How boring, how small Shakespeare's people are, yet the language so lovely. Leo Tolstoy, W.H. Auden, D.H. Lawrence, T.S. Eliot. Correct answer is option B. D.H. Lawrence. D.H. Lawrence, 1928, admired the beauty of Shakespeare's language but criticized the triviality of his characters. D.H. लॉरेंस ने विलियम शेक्सपियर के जो कैरेक्टर्स हैं उनको क्रिटिसाइज किया है. ओके. क्वेश्चन नंबर 180. Who doubted that the man from Stratford wrote Shakespeare's works supporting the Edward D. Were theory? Sigmund Freud, Kenneth Burke, T.S. Eliot, Alan Bloom. Option A is correct. Sigmund Freud. Sigmund Freud was one of the notable intellectuals who doubted that William Shakespeare of Stratford-upon-Avon was the true author of the plays and sonnets. Freud leaned toward the Oxfordian theory, which argues that Edward de Vere, the 17th Earl of Oxford, was. Okay, next question. Question number 181. Who observed that Shakespeare's greatest plays unfold like destiny, not by technical scheming? Kenneth Burke, T.S. Eliot, Harold Bloom, W.H. Auden. Correct answer is option A. Kenneth Burke. Burke highlighted Shakespeare's genius in translating social tensions into naturalistic drama, emphasizing the art of human complexity. Next question. Question number 182. Who likened the interplay of words and ideas in Shakespeare to patina on metal, smoothing seams without obliterating them? Stephen Booth, Kenneth Burke, Harold Bloom, Alan Bloom. Correct answer is option A. Stephen Booth. Stephen Booth, 1994, used the patina metaphor to describe subtle networks of thematic and linguistic relationships in Shakespeare's works. Next question. Question number 183. Who claimed that Shakespeare is the canon, setting the standard and limits of literature? Harold Bloom, Alan Bloom, Stephen Booth, or Kenneth Burke? Option A is correct. Harold Bloom. Harold Bloom. Harold Bloom, 1994, placed Shakespeare at the center of the Western literary canon, defining the benchmark for literary excellence. Next. Question number 184. Who compared Shakespeare's works to Gothic architecture, majestic, yet with childish and ill-placed parts? Alexander Pope, Joseph Addison, Samuel Johnson, Voltaire. Option A is correct. Alexander Pope. Alexander Pope contrasted Shakespeare's grandeur and irregularity with neoclassical elegance, likening his plays to ancient Gothic architecture. Next, question number 185. Who criticized Shakespeare for lack of formal learning but praised his natural insight into humanity? John Dryden, Samuel Johnson, Thomas Rhymer, Voltaire. Option A is correct. John Dryden. John Dryden observed that Shakespeare's genius was innate, drawing from nature itself rather than books. Next question. Question number 186. Who said Shakespeare's tragedies should be studied like natural phenomena with entire submission of our faculties? Thomas de Quincey, Goethe, Charles Lamb, Thomas Carlyle. Correct answer is option A. Thomas de Quincey. Thomas de Quincey compared Shakespeare's works to self-sustaining, intricately designed natural phenomena. Question number 187. Who called Shakespeare the man who invented so much, effused so much novelty upon his age or country? Samuel Johnson, Joseph Addison, Alexander Pope, T.S. Eliot. Correct answer is option B. Samuel Johnson. Samuel Johnson highlighted Shakespeare's originality and immense contribution to English drama. Question number 188. Who argued that Shakespeare's mix of comedy and tragedy is justified by nature, not criticism? Samuel Johnson, Voltaire, John Dryden, Thomas Rhymer. Option A is correct. Samuel Johnson. Samuel Johnson defended Shakespeare's genre mixing as a reflection of human life rather than adherence to strict rules. Next, question number 189. Who said Prince Hamlet is suddenly facing the need for a great action imposed upon your soul that is unable to do it? Goethe, D.H. Lawrence, T.S. Eliot, Smith Burke. Option A is correct. Goethe. Goethe highlighted Hamlet's psychologically conflict, emphasizing the internal struggle faced by the character. Goethe was an 18th century German poet, dramatist, novelist, philosopher, and scientist, widely regarded as the greatest figure in German literature and the central voice of European Romanticism and Classicism. Next, question number 190. Who wrote that Dante and Shakespeare divide the modern world between them? This quote is most important, so you must learn it. T.S. Eliot, Harold Bloom, Ellen Bloom, W.H. Auden. Correct answer is option A. T.S. Eliot. T.S. Eliot, 1929, recognized the unparalleled literary influence of both writers in shaping modern literature. Next question. Question number 191. Who stated that Shakespeare's work reveals the glory of the trade itself through complex human vision? Kenneth Burke, Stephen Booth, Harold Bloom, W.H. Auden. Correct answer is option A. नीट वर्क फ्रेंड्स, इसे नीट भी पढ़ सकते हैं और नीट भी पढ़ सकते हैं, जैसा आप कुछ समझें तैसा पढ़ लीजिएगा. ओके. Burke emphasized Shakespeare's dramatist craft, showing how his plays embody human complexity and artistic vision. Next, question number 192. Who said Shakespeare's genius has lost the English theatre due to its overwhelming originality? Voltaire, Alexander Pope, Samuel Johnson, John Dryden. Option A is correct. Voltaire. Voltaire admired Shakespeare's creativity but criticized his neglect of classical rules, claiming it misled the English stage. Question number 193. Who expressed that art is rather a bore and praised Shakespeare for not taking himself too seriously? W. H. Auden, D. H. Lawrence, T. S. Eliot, Harold Bloom. Correct answer is option A. W. H. Auden. W. H. Auden admired Shakespeare's playful attitude towards art and the avoidance of self-importance in his creative life. Next, question number 194. Who criticized Shakespeare's attempt to express the inexpressibly horrible, noting it exceeded his understanding of? T. S. Eliot, Leo Tolstoy, Sigmund Freud, Knie Burke. Option A is correct. T. S. Eliot. T. S. Eliot noted in Hamlet and his problems that some themes in Shakespeare's work exceed even the author's comprehension. Who said Shakespeare's political insights focus on rulers within civil society? Ellen Bloom, Neatwork, Thomas Carlyle, Samuel Johnson. Option A is correct. Ellen Bloom. Bloom emphasized depiction of political setting and rulers. Ellen Bloom, 1930-1992. Ellen Bloom was an American philosopher, classic and cultural critic. Question number 196. One day, when there is no more Great Britain, will exist Shakespeare, we will speak Shakespeare. Who made this remark? George Louis Borges, Pablo Neruda, Mercado de Assis, Octavio Paz. Option B is correct. Option B is correct. The Brazilian novelist Mercado de Assis emphasized Shakespeare's immortality beyond nations and even language. Option B is correct. Mercado de Assis. Next. And Shakespeare divide the modern world between them. There is no third. Who said this? मोस्ट इम्पोर्टेंट कोट है फ्रेंड्स, इसे जरूर लर्न करना है. मैथ्यू अर्नोल्ड, इजरा पाउंड, टी एस इलियट, कॉलरेज. ऑप्शन बी इज करेक्ट. टी एस इलियट. टी एस इलियट इन सेलेक्टेड essays ranked Dante and Shakespeare as the two supreme influences on modern civilization. Question number 198. Other side our question, thou art free. The lines occur in a sonnet on Shakespeare by John Milton, Matthew Arnold, Dryden, Pope. Option B is correct. Matthew Arnold. ये मैथ्यू अर्नोल्ड का शेक्सपियर के लिए मोस्ट इम्पोर्टेंट कोट है, जरूर लर्न करना है। मैथ्यू अर्नोल्ड wrote the famous sonnet on Shakespeare, stressing Shakespeare's serene detachment and universality. Next, question number 199. The greatest genius that perhaps human nature had yet produced, our myriad-minded Shakespeare. Who said this? Dryden, S.T. Coleridge, Samuel Johnson, Hazlitt. Option C is correct. S.T. Coleridge. S.T. Coleridge coined the phrase myriad-minded Shakespeare to describe his limitless imaginative power. Next question. Question number 200. In our world, he is the universal poet. Who made this observation? A.C. Bradley, Matthew Arnold, W.J. Long, T.S. Eliot. Option B is correct. W.J. Long. Literary historian W.J. Long emphasized Shakespeare's universal appeal across culture and ages. Next question. Question 201. I don't remember that any book or person made so great an impression upon me as the plays of Shakespeare. Who said this? Nietzsche, Goethe, Schiller, Kant. Correct option is option B. Goethe. Goethe acknowledged Shakespeare's profound influence on his intellectual and artistic development. Next question. Question number 202. Shakespeare has no heroes but only heroines. Who made this statement? Matthew Arnold, John Ruskin, A.C. Bradley, George Eliot. Option C is correct. John Ruskin. John Ruskin admired Shakespeare's powerful female characters who he felt surpassed the male heroes. Next. Question number 203. Shakespeare is drunken savage with some imagination. Who made this hostile remark? Rousseau, Voltaire, Diderot, Montesquieu. Correct answer is option B. Voltaire. फ्रेंड्स, वोल्टेयर ने शेक्सपियर को एक ड्रंकन सेविज कहा है। देखा कितना बड़ा उन्होंने उन पर रिमार्क छोड़ा है, मतलब एक पिवक्कड़ असभ्य व्यक्ति कहा है उन्होंने। जिन्होंने ये कहा है वोल्टेयर ने, उनका इतना नाम नहीं है, लेकिन जिसके लिए कहा है विलियम शेक्सपियर के लिए, वो कितनी ग्रेट है कि पूरे वर्ल्ड में, इन द होल वर्ल्ड, वे जाने जाते हैं। उनका कोई ना कोई वर्क किसी न किसी यूनिवर्सिटी में ज़रूर लगा होता है। ओके फ्रेंड्स, आइए और देखते हैं। वोल्टेयर, दो इनिशियली एडमायरिंग शेक्सपियर, लेटर अटैक्ड हिम फॉर वायलेटिंग क्लासिकल ड्रामेटिक रूल्स। Question number 204. Of all Shakespeare's plays, Macbeth is the most rapid, Hamlet is slowest. Who said this? Hazlitt, Coleridge, Dryden, Johnson. Option C is correct. S.T. Coleridge. S.T. Coleridge analyzed Shakespeare's plays psychologically and structurally in his lectures. Next. Question number 205. Will you give up your Indian empire or your Shakespeare? Who posed this question? Edmund Burke, Thomas Carlyle, Macaulay, Matthew Arnold. Option B is correct. Thomas Carlyle. Thomas Carlyle in Horses and Hero Worship exalted Shakespeare as a greater position than empire. Next, question number 206. Hero as a poet, Dante. Shakespeare, who made this classification? Arnold, Iliad, Carlyle, Bradley. Option B is correct. Carlyle. Carlyle's hero as poet lecture places Dante and Shakespeare as supreme poetic heroes. Next question. Question number 207. The morality of Shakespeare's later tragedies is not religious in the ordinary sense. Who wrote this? T.S. Eliot, Matthew Arnold, George Orwell, Lewis. Option B is correct. George Orwell. George Orwell in a 1947 essay argued that Shakespeare's moral vision is human rather than Christian. 208. Who claimed that Shakespeare avoided conflicts with censorship and held anti-church ideas? Jane Cott, Vadim Nikolaev, Tolstoy, Bakhtin. Option B is correct. Vadim Nikolaev. Next. Question number 209. Who wrote the long critical tribute describing Shakespeare as not an imitator but an instrument of nature? John Dryden, Alexander Pope, Samuel Johnson, S.T. Coleridge. Option C is correct. Alexander Pope. Alexander Pope praised Shakespeare's originality and natural genius in his critical writings. Next. Question number 210 and last question of this video. The idea of Shakespeare's imaginary sister Judith appear in which writer's work? George Eliot, Virginia Woolf, Jane Austen, Dorothy Richardson. Option B is correct. Virginia Woolf. In A Room of One's Own, Virginia Woolf uses Judith Shakespeare to expose the oppression of women writers. ओके फ्रेंड्स, आज के लिए बस इतना ही। नेक्स्ट वीडियो में फिर मिलेंगे। थैंक यू, हैव अ नाइस डे।